We're currently going back over our prospect rankings for the 2022 NFL draft class with the combine now behind us. And today we're going to look at the edge rusher class because there has been a little movement there. But what's crack-a-lacking? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's go ahead. Get into the nitty gritty. We're going to start with Nik Bonitto here at 10. He finally reemerges back into my top 10 in the edge class. This is a very deep edge class. So, hey, can't include everybody, but glad to see Nik Bonitto back on in it because he was more of this. It seemed like he was more of a scheme dependent prospect. And while I'm not willing to go too far from that, just given his size, 6'3", 248. I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious. Is he tapped out at that extent? Can he maybe get to like plus 250? And I won't want to push him any further, honestly, because it's not like he's got the length to be this hand in the dirt pass rusher. That's just not him. 32 half-inch arm length, but I think as a 3-4 linebacker, a rush linebacker, a guy that does have coverage experience, going back to I know I have it up here. Oh, I just played myself. I thought I had the number up, but he does have experience in coverage, and actually has been a quality player in coverage. Let me get the exact snap total. But he went to the combine, weighed in at an impressive 248. I was really surprised by that. He tested with the linebackers, not the edge, but he boasted some good numbers. 35 half-inch vert, 22 on the bench. That honestly shocked me. 4.52 40. He did well in the cone and in the shuttle drills. I think actually Aiden Hutchinson and Dominique Robinson were the only guys that had a lower short shuttle than Bonitto. So good on you. That's pretty solid. But now let's get into this coverage stuff because I'm finally there. Almost there. Because we know he's been disruptive as a pass rusher for Oklahoma. I mean, just looking at his career as a pass rusher there. Sorry, Gojo here coughing in the back. He has 122 pressures, 19 sacks. 16 of those sacks coming in the last two seasons. But in terms of coverage, like he has almost 300 coverage snaps to his name, where he did have an interception back in 2019 and 2 pass breakups where he was actually used quite a bit there. You could use this guy Y9, but I think he's still going to go to an exclusively 3-4 type of team. But yeah, dude, Nik Bonitto, man, you worry about the frame, but I think in the right scheme, like teams that are like 3-4 heavy schemes are going to gush over a guy like Nik Bonitto. The talent's just too good to really pass up on. Then at 9, I got Drake Jackson. Listen, Drake Jackson, his high-end reps, if you take his like top 5, top 10 high-end reps, it's comparable to the top of this draft class. Like he's got the frame, he's got the length, he has the explosiveness. And we saw that 36.5-inch vert, 127 inches in the broad. But the question for Drake Jackson throughout his whole career has been the inconsistencies in terms of his play, the taking plays off, the hot cold motor. And this year, I thought he did a good job at answering those questions. Unfortunately, he was a bit beat up this season, and then also USC had that whole coaching change where was it Clay Helton ended up getting fired halfway through the year. But he was very productive this season on only 173 pass rushing snaps. He had 25 pressures and 6 snaps. 6 sacks. There we go. Like the length, the explosiveness. Like this all screams like this guy's Y9. He reminds me a little bit of a guy I really liked a year or two ago in Alton Robinson out of Syracuse, who ended up going to Seattle. Like I like Drake London. Dang it, dude. They're on the same team too. Drake Jackson as a prospect. He's young. And if you could get this guy, just get this guy's head in the game where he's just playing more consistent. Like I said, he showed that this year. He got hurt for parts of the year, but he showed when on the field, like how disruptive, the movement skills, scary. He made a, like even during the off season, he was trying to put on weight and some mass to his lower body, because one of the other things is he has problems turning speed into power. He's not the most powerful guy. That's why I have him as a Y9. Still, maybe a project, but probably one of the most high-end projects in this class. Number 8, Arnold Ebiketti came out and tested way more explosive than I expected him to. Because because he doesn't have elite tools. But one of the big things for him was, well, shoot, like he's got average explosiveness, which I was like, man, I think he's a bit more explosive than that. And I've said that in videos before, and he tested out like it. 38 in the vert, 128 in the broad. But what I really like about him is he was a former Temple transfer, where Temple, they didn't use him a lot. He didn't see a lot of playing time, but back in 2020, man, he had the 6th best pass rushing rate among all edge defenders, with at least 89 pass rushing snaps or more, resulted in 22 pressures, 4 sacks. And he was like, you know what? I believe in me. I believe in my skills. Went to a Power 5 school there in the Big Ten, Penn State, and put on some weight because he was initially in the 240 area, and lit it up. 48 pressures, 8 sacks on the season. And I think that's current. Let me do a little fact checking, because I wrote that review, I think, about 12 or 10 to 11 games into the season. So I just want to make sure that it's accurate. But the dude is good, man. He doesn't have a large toolbox pass rush moves, but he has like 3 to 5 really good pass rush moves, and his approach to the pass rush is that of an NFL player. Like he won with a variety of hand counters. Like he knew how he was gonna react if a blocker took him this way or that way. Like his pass rush move is like a tree, man. You see the big trunk, and then it branches out into all the variety of counters and second moves that he has. Like I think he's NFL ready in that regard. That's why I put him as an all-around edge prospect. Here we go. Finally get into the stats. I'm sitting here talking. Maybe trying to find this. Okay, he ended with 52 pressures, 8 sacks. Okay, so 4 more pressures than I had listed down here. Bit older prospect. I do think in terms of the ceiling, it's not as high as some of the other guys in here, but I think he'd be a welcome addition to any roster. And then Boye Maefe coming here in number 7, 35 on my board. Got him as a Y9 because I love that explosiveness. The arms did come in shorter than expected at 32 and 5/8. Still no problem. I think if you're gonna get the most out of him, you want him just blasting off the edge. Came in, ran a 4.53, 38 in the vert, which was only beaten by Jeremiah Moon, who we're going to talk about him when I get to a sleepers video, because I find him very interesting. I'll just say that. But Maefe did come in the year a bit unpolished because of he was really limited in his use there at Minnesota. But as we got through the year, he became just, you saw more polished, more comfortability in the run game. He made Bruce Feldman's freaks list at the beginning of the year for his speed and explosiveness. You saw that in the stinking Senior Bowl. Like, you saw it during the practices. Like, the guy was a much better player by the end of the year, and I still think he's learning. I still think he's growing. I still think there's a lot of meat to the bone when it comes to Maefe. I think one area he needs to get better at is keeping his hands active and guarding his strike zone. By strike zone, I essentially just mean the chest. By guarding his chest, not letting guys get under his pads, not letting blockers get a hold of him. So keeping his hands a bit more active in that regard. Number 6, David Ajabo. This guy, he's a high-end prospect. Like, he is, NFL teams, he could go anywhere from the top 10 to, I think, late first round. It really depends on what you see he can be, because he's just not that right now. He suffers from a small sample size. He was late to the game of football, and he doesn't have a lot of significant snaps to his name. He just became a starter week 6 this past year, but he was born in Nigeria, moved to Scotland at the age of 7, moved to the U.S. when he was in high school, began playing football his junior year of high school, where he played alongside Odafe Owe. And when he went to Michigan, he was practice squad player of the year his freshman year. Sophomore year, he was hardly ever used, and it was, again, a week 5 breakout performance by him. And then he got the start the following week, ended the year with 39 pressures, 11 sacks. Like, and you see the vert, 35, the broad jump, 122. Like, the dude has the length, he has the frame, he has the get off, he has the twitch. If anything, like, I think he gets lost with pre-snap motion. He's not good at tracking the ball in the backfield or where the ball may be. I think he still needs to work on his hand placement and hand counters, but I think he's got a variety of different ways he can win. As we saw that during the year, man. Like, I talk about his hand counters being a problem, but I think they're much further along than you'd expect for a guy that only has, say, maybe 300 to 400 significant snaps under his name. So again, it's what you expect him to be. I put DPR, which is designated pass rusher. I think that's what he's going to be early in his career. That's how Michigan used him. They didn't like to keep him on the field on running plays or running downs. So I don't think he plays the run early, and I think you're going to be using him in a limited role early on. But again, it's what you see that he can be. That's what you're drafting. You're drafting what he can be, not what he is right now. Number 5, George Karlaftis. I got him. He's prospect ranked 13. A lot of people aren't loving him right now. And I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I thought he came to the combine and showed he could be explosive with the 35.5-inch vert, the 123 broad. Because this is a cat that came in like, okay, he's strong, but you need to be explosive. You need to be explosive. You're going to lack length, which 32 and 5/8 inch arms. If you're lacking length, he's not a bendy guy, then you better be strong, you better be explosive, or else you're going to be viewed as largely just this edge setter. This guy that kind of just sets the edge and can really influence the run game and push the pocket. And I think he's a bit more than that. I think an ideal role for him is a base 4-3 end. But he's been very productive throughout his career. Freshman year, 55 pressures, 8 sacks. Sophomore year was a lot of he dealt with injury, and he also got the Rona. But, oh man, low key, he's got a great motor. He's got a game that just translates well to the NFL. Might not have the upside of the guys in front of him, but he's a pretty freaking darn good player. And if you're mad about your team taking him inside the top 15, like, I think he's one of the safer prospects in this class. I think he's going to come out and be a solid player throughout his NFL career. I like GK. And then number 4, Travon Walker, man, just 6'5", 272. And people were pumping him up. They're like, dude, we know he's got an incredible physical tool. He's going to test out like a freak at the combine. Just wait and see. We heard that from Dane Brugler. And straight up, did not disappoint. 35.5-inch arms. And then he ran a 4.51. 35.5-inch vert. 123 in the broad. And then the dude was straight money in the 3-cone. 6'8'9". At the combine, only 3 receivers ran under 7 in the 3-cone. What? Ridiculous. I think at this point, it's hard to deny that he's a top 10 player, even though he's far from being a finished prospect at this point, or he needs a lot of polish to his game. But this dude is strong. He played well in Georgia's defense. They had him in coverage at some points. Not something I advise in the NFL, but just knowing Georgia, like, they trusted him enough to drop him to coverage. The sample size could be a bit worrisome. Only 813 career snaps to his name, but he was great this year. 47 pressures, 10 sacks. He's got the versatility to be a stand-up rusher or a guy that could put his hand in the dirt and win. You could say the play was a bit inconsistent, at least in terms of his motor. Like, it would run hot and cold, but he wins with length, he wins with power, he wins with leverage. I like the explosiveness. He could definitely become a better technician. This is a guy that heavily relies on his bull rush. Heavily relies on his bull rush and the variety of moves that he can combo off from there. Once he learns to use his hands a bit better, but this is a guy immediately you could put on the field and expect him to play 3 downs. Like, he's a sure run stuffer. So, yeah, man, I was a bit critical. I said, man, I've been saying, hey, I think if he comes out in 2023, he's one of the top guys off the board. Well, with how he looked at the combine, he probably ends up that guy anyway. So, good off-season draft process for Travon Walker. And then Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. This guy's ceiling, I think, is a lot higher than I anticipated. I was admittedly, I was saying it the whole year that I was going to go with the wait and see approach with Jermaine Johnson, because I like this cat. I said I was curious about his length, because the dude has huge arms in terms of, like, they look like 28-inch pythons, man. They're legit. I've been saying they're steel beams, but 34-inch arms. Measured those at the Senior Bowl and then at the Combine as well. And, man, like, this guy has a stout lower body, wins with leverage. He's more than just an edge setter. At first, that's what I kind of thought he was going to be, but he tested out pretty darn well. 32-inch vert, 125 inches on the broad. Running a sub 4.6 was huge. The dude literally showed a special bend for a guy with his frame, with his build. Like, he wasn't winning with just immense power, but, man, he just overwhelmed everybody at the Senior Bowl, that so much so that he didn't even participate on day 3. I think he didn't even participate day 2 of the practices, but he made a lot of money during the offseason draft process. He was a JUCO transfer from Georgia. The pedigree is there. I like this cat. He had a great year there for Florida State, finishing the year with... Oh, you would think I would put his end of the year stat. Oh, here it is. 46 pressures and 14 sacks. I think he could definitely add more pass rush moves to his toolbox. He could be a bit more active with his hands. But no, he's a lot better than what I initially thought. And then Kvon Thibodeaux. Everyone wants to be down on Kvon Thibodeaux. This guy's got tools, man. He's got tools. He's got the plus 33-inch arms. He showed good speed, 4.58. 27 reps on the bench press was most at the combine for an edge rusher. They don't like that he didn't participate in the rest of the drills after he said he would. Yeah, that sucks. A lot of people think he comes off as egotistical. Listen, this dude's been an Iron Man for Florida. Like, when he can be on the field, he has been. He only came off the field this year because of injury. Some people question his motor. The only time I really saw him let up was when he was double teamed in games like Utah. But this guy's been extremely productive. For people to say he's too inconsistent, I think is just, it has me flabbergasted. It really does. People calling him a bust, probably just because they don't like his attitude. And I don't even call it an attitude. Like, for people, they think he may have these red flags that I honestly think aren't there. Give me the player that has this upside, man. Give me KT. I love KT. He came into this class initially as the top overall prospect. That's changed for some people. Some people have him lower in their top 10. Some people, I think it's wild that they don't even include him in their top 10. He's too freaking special, too freaking talented. This guy, in 2020, when he matched up against Elijah Vera Tucker, 12 pressures in that game. Sean Ryan was the only guy that was able to hold him in 2020. And then in this game, this past season, they literally schemed Sean Ryan away from KT. They either gave him tight end help, or they had him like played him in like movement and motion, had him go to the second level rather than actually have to take KT and hold him head on. The dude was disruptive. I think he ended the year with 37 pressures, 8 sacks. That's another stat that I have. Thus far this season. Next year, I'm going to do a better job putting actual end of the year stats in. Sorry, I write these notes as I watch these guys. So, is what it is. I still like KT. And then number one overall prospect, Aiden Hutchinson. Tested out great. He had the best 3-cone of any other edge with a 6.73, which is absolutely ridiculous. Not a lot of guys came close to him on the short shuttle. The 36-inch vert. You may look at the 40 time. I don't really care. I think he showed explosiveness. You saw a bit better of a bend. While there's bendier guys in this class, like, still for a guy coming from where he was, like the 2019 season, looking at him more as like this guy that could kick inside and is more of an edge setter on the outside. Breaks his leg in the first game of the season in 2020. Decides to come back, bets on himself, sheds about 10 to 15 pounds, and he's a different player, man. He made Bruce Feldman's Freaks list at the beginning of the year because of what he did during the spring practices. The dude has just been good. You know, he's got strong hands. One of his favorite moves is like a bull rush into a push-pull move. He probably has the best push-pull move of anybody in this class. I mean, golly gee, the dude had a hell of a year. He was in the run-in for the Heisman. I mean, I don't know. I think KT has the better ceiling. I think Aiden Hutchinson's just going to be a hell of a football player. And I will take that. 6'7", 260. Give me Hutch. And it looks like the Jaguars, they're thinking the same thing. They want Hutch. But that's it for the video. Let me know who you think could have been included, because this edge class is exceptionally deep. Like guys like Sam Williams, Myjah Sanders, a guy that I personally love, Kingsley and Agbar-Reed, Cameron Thomas, were literally just sitting there on the outside looking in. But we'll keep continuing with the prospect rankings. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.